Hey, it's good to have you with me today. I'm doing a series on the fruit of the Spirit found in Galatians chapter 5. And I hope you've been with me in previous weeks. If you haven't, you can find those messages on our website, newdaychurchbrandon.org. Listen to these words in Galatians 5. Paul said, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Today, let me talk to you about this aspect of the fruit of the Spirit called good or goodness. Did you know that Webster gives about 17 different categories for good or goodness in the dictionary, with 3 or 4 different uses or illustrations under each category? Consequently, the word is used multiple times each day by all of us in a variety of ways. We speak about good food, a good weather, a good report, a good movie. We say, hey, have a good day. Boy, didn't she do a good job? It's a good distance from here, I'll tell you that. Hey, good to see you, right? And we tell our teenagers, have fun and do what? Be good. Really, which is an oxymoron for a teenager if you think about it. Well, the Bible has much to say about goodness too. In fact, the words good or goodness are used 619 times in the Bible, one of them being right here in Galatians 5. So here's our question to consider today. How can we live a life that is very good, or what is the good life? All right, are you ready? First of all, the good life is about knowing who you are. If I were to ask you to tell me who you are in religious terms, invariably one of you would answer, I'm a sinner saved by grace. You've heard that before, right? Listen, that's really not true. And the people who have believed that lie, me included, have experienced serious consequences as a result. In fact, this belief has influenced many Christians through the century to fall terribly short of the kind of lifestyle the Bible tells us that we can live. And here's why. People will not act consistently in ways they are contrary to what they believe about themselves. That's why I cringe when I hear parents say, let's go, you little hellions, or stop doing that, you little brats. Because guess what? When you run into those kids at Walmart or at the mall, how are they acting? Like hellions and like brats, yes? This is a foundational issue in life because it's an identity issue. The bottom line is that over the long haul, you will act like who you think you are. Take this I'm a sinner thing. What do you expect a sinner to do? Sin, right? That would be the default, the normal behavior for a sinner, which is a major reason why many of us have so often fallen woefully short of the victorious living the Bible teaches we can enjoy. But look at this. Paul said in 1 Corinthians 5, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, that person is a new creature. Old things have passed away and new things have come. Now that word creature, by the way, has as its roots create. It means to bring something into existence out of nothing. Now that's significant. In Christ, you are no longer a sinner. Paul told the Galatians that God put the sinner to death with Jesus on the cross. He created someone brand new. And I'm not suggesting that you never sin, but what you do in that area doesn't define who you are. Who you are is one who has been also infused with the DNA of Jesus. His righteousness now is your righteousness. His identity is your identity. We are in the very literal sense children of God Himself. And let me tell you what that is. That's goodness. And it's the kind of goodness that leads us into the good life. So the good life is about knowing who you are. And second, it's about doing who you are. Because who we are on the inside always leads to what we do on the outside. Now, doing good can be defined as the love of God lived out in a practical way, or love in action. In other words, acting out our love in ways that have tangible effects on those around us. And this notion of doing good or good works, that was God's plan from the very beginning. In Ephesians 2, Paul says, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Now, doing good doesn't produce a relationship with God. However, a relationship with God will always produce doing good. So how can we fulfill this idea of doing who we are? Let me give you a couple of ideas. One thing, you can speak to others with love and kindness. Like what Paul said in Ephesians 4, when we speak the truth in love, we will grow in every way more like Christ. But frankly, some don't do that very well. Oh, they tell the truth all right, but the attitudes and words they choose, the emotions they use, tear others down rather than build them up. Instead of telling the truth, they launch the truth, sort of like a guided missile or a smart bomb, right into that other person's heart. And that's especially true inside the home. Hearing words like, "You're stupid," "I hate you," "You're fat," "You're ugly," "I wish you were never born," "You never listen," "You just don't get it." And even if the things I say have an element of truth, they can still be horribly destructive. So let's be careful to not only speak the truth to others, but also clothe those words in love and kindness. Because the absence of loving kindness is never what? Never good. Another idea for you to consider is this: live a life of consistency. Paul said in 1 Corinthians 1, "This is my boast. Our conscience testifies we have conducted ourselves in the world, and especially in our relationships with you, with integrity and godly sincerity. We have done so relying on the world, not worldly wisdom, but on God's grace." Paul's speaking here about the fact that he lived his life with consistency, with integrity, with sincerity. In fact, one translation of this, of goodness, is integrity. And by the way, this is another area you cannot fake, especially with those who are closest to you. Either you have integrity and consistency or you don't. For instance, when I finish speaking a message on Sunday, like in our in-person service, it does me a lot of good when the folks there say, "Well, that was a good message. Great sermon, Pastor." Why? Because I want to help people. I want to do something that makes a difference in their life or give them something that makes a difference. But I'll tell you something. When I leave church and my Nancy looks at me in the eye and says, "Good message, baby," that means even more to me, and I'll tell you why. Because she's the one that's with me more than any other person. She knows me when no one else is around. She knows everything about me. And guess what? Who we are behind closed doors is who we really are. Several years ago, one of the good guys died. Andy Taylor. You remember Sheriff Andy Taylor? Andy Griffith was his name. You may remember that show where Sheriff Andy Taylor played the sheriff of a small town called Mayberry, and he was a good guy. Everyone talked about him being a good guy. Sang in the church choir on Sunday. Always took Opie to church. He demonstrated amazing patience with his bumbling deputy. You remember his name? Barney Fife. Now, in real life, Andy was a committed follower of Jesus. In fact, his wife Cindy posted this statement after his death. Andy was a person of incredibly strong Christian faith and was prepared for the day he would meet his Lord. I cannot imagine life without Andy, but I take comfort and strength in God's grace and in the knowledge that Andy is at peace with God. Now, one of the best episodes that taught a great lesson about goodness was called the Cave Rescue. The people of Mayberry were laughing at Barney Fife because earlier that morning he tried to arrest the bank president who was unlocking the door to his own bank. In order to make him forget his humiliation, Andy planned a picnic for Barney and Thelma Lou and he and Helen. And during the picnic, Andy and Helen wandered off to explore Lost Lover's Cave. Well, there was a cave in, and Barney realized that Andy and Helen were trapped. So he organized a massive rescue effort in that area. Meanwhile, Andy and Helen found a way out of the cave through another opening, and they just hitchhiked back to town to clean up at Helen's house. While they were doing that, they were listening to the radio, and they heard a news bulletin about 2 people trapped in a cave near Mayberry and how Deputy Fife had organized a massive rescue effort. Helen picked up the phone to call the courthouse and tell them to call off the search, but Andy stopped her. He said, "You know, Helen, if the townspeople knew we are safe, Barney would become even more of a joke to the citizens." What they did next really illustrates goodness. In order to prevent further ridicule directed at Barney, they put their dirty clothes back on. They rushed back into that cave through the back entrance. They rubbed dirt on their faces and sat down as if they were exhausted. In just a few minutes, the rescue party broke through. And as a result of the rescue, Barney became the hero, thanks to Andy's sense of goodness. However, if you're familiar with the show, you know that Andy always did good things, didn't he? And the reason why is because inside, Andy was a good person. He just couldn't help himself. He could do nothing else but good. Now listen, when Jesus came to live in you, He deposited goodness in your spirit because He is goodness. And as you rest in Him, as you trust Him, goodness will be your moniker everywhere you go. You just won't be able to help yourself. Hey, I hope that helps you. Next week we'll be back with another one of these traits on the fruit of the Spirit, and I hope you'll join me then. If you're on social media, would you just share this on your timeline so people can maybe be blessed by it as well, your friends and your family members? If you'd like to get a hold of me, you can email me at mhaley777@gmail.com, or you can contact me on our website, newdaychurchbrandon.org. I'm so glad you joined me today. Thank you. Have a great day. God bless you. We'll see you soon.